Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Work with Ty Brownlow. I am your host, Ty Brownlow. And remember, no one is worthless. No story is worthless. Today, ladies and gentlemen, you already know it's about that mental health. You know, I've dedicated my platform to this. And my guest today, all the way from the East Coast, all the way, up in the area, they got the good crab cakes and all that good stuff. You know what I'm saying? But joining me today, please give it up for Mimi Ryans.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No problem at all. No problem at all. So let me just give you your props right now. You are the owner and lead therapist at the Lighthouse Center for Therapy and Play. Can you just talk a little, about the Lighthouse Center and, the services that you offer there?
Yeah, so I started Lighthouse in 2008. Yeah, 2014. So I've been in business for 8 years. My focus predominantly was children when I started the practice, which is why there's play at the end of it. I'm a registered play therapist. But as Lighthouse has kind of grown and COVID kind of hit and stuff has kind of happened, I've never limited services to just kids. So, right, because there's so many things that are so many people that impact children as well. So we work with, my oldest client is 82 years old. She's amazing. And I use play therapy with her. And my youngest is probably right now is about 6. And I use play therapy with them. So Lighthouse was kind of my brainchild. We're an insurance-based private group practice. I take most insurances. At our peak, we were probably pre-pandemic. We probably had 12 clinicians, maybe 15. Maybe had closer to 700 clients. Because folks in this area, there's not a lot of clinicians that take insurance, and so that was one of the reasons I started it the way that I did, because I wanted folks to be able to access really good care and still be able to use their insurance to get what they needed. Post-pandemic, I tell people, we're so much smaller now. And they're like, oh, that's not really small. I've got about 9 clinicians, and there's probably about 350, maybe 400 clients. So we're still a pretty good size practice. I do my life work. Like I tell people, and I've told every clinician that I've hired, anybody that talks to me, everybody knows when I'm no longer having fun with Lighthouse will no longer be. I love the work I do. I started, I became a social worker very late in life, pregnant with my twin girls, walking up that hill at Howard University to get my MSW for real. And, but before that I have my MBA. And so I was a project manager in the .com world and did that for a really long time. And, I got called into social work. It clearly was not my idea, but I love the work I do. And it's so much fun and it's such a rewarding thing. But anyway, so that's kind of me, the Lighthouse. Lighthouse is because I try to offer people beacon. I try to be a beacon, right? A beacon of like hope and light. And so I'm fascinated with lighthouses. I'm afraid of heights, but love to climb the 200 plus steps to go in every lighthouse that I get close to. I go out on the little ledge. My kids are like, what in the world? But you're scared. I'm like, I'm not scared up here. Lighthouses they're magical for me. So that's why Lighthouse.
Okay. You know what? First and foremost, let me just say, I just find the backstory fascinating, because as you said, finding your purpose, finding your life work, as you have said yourself, that's key, because a lot of us spend a lot of our, time searching for this so-called life that we want, and we want to build, and we want to do this, and we want to travel, we want to live this life. Oh, I'm just going to go work, my job from 9 to 5, and directly at 9, and directly at 5, life just starts, yeah. But in reality, say when you have that wake up call, it can be a little rough, and that anxiety can lead to doubt leads to bad choices. Bad choices lead to debt of many kinds, not only financial but social, and look, that's a story for a whole nother show. We're gonna preach that sermon later on, but no, like you mentioned that you had a life, you had your MBA, you were a project manager. I'm pretty sure it had a very successful life doing what you felt at that time was good to you, but you got called into this work, and to get called into something. Seriously, anytime you're dealing with like the public and, especially children, and I know you deal with children with special needs as well, and I know my background in education, I was a paraprofessional to a child of special needs for 3 years, so I know how, like, man, like you become that second parent almost, like, okay,
absolutely,
I need you. Like, oh my God, like you're almost like as worried as like the original parent, but
yep.
It is what it is. But to say, but to really like listen to your story and how you got called into this, that is phenomenal. But you mentioned play therapy, okay?
Yeah.
You are a play therapist, and I know people out here who are not in the therapy world as a counselor or actual therapists themselves, they may not be familiar with these terms. So can you talk a little bit about play therapy, pretty much what it is and its importance in your practice?
Sure. So play therapy is, I am a registered play therapist supervisor. So I have an RPTS beside my name, whatever. Here's the thing. I am more than a therapist that just plays with children. And so that's the distinction, right? There are clinicians who offer play, but it is not play therapy because they are not certified in play therapy. And so that's kind of the difference. So play therapy is really, it's developed and primarily used for children 4 to 11 years old. And it can span any diagnoses, any trauma, anything, right? I and a lot of my colleagues who are play therapists kind of step out of the age box, right, and use play. And I integrate play in everything because I feel like, so it's so funny, people of color, particularly folks that look like me and have not been encouraged to play as children. So then when you have a parent who brings a kid to a play therapist and they go out and they say, oh, we played Uno. I was like, I could have played Uno and it would have cost me a lot less money and I could have been at the house cooking dinner. You know what I mean? So it's like, I started really trying to educate my parents on what play therapy is. Everything can be therapeutic. You can make anything kind of play geared, right? So Uno, you can do feelings, or you can do situations, or you can talk about things that happen. So each color of an Uno card, right? So there's red, yellow, green, and blue, can represent a feeling. And so red can be anger, yellow can be joy, blue can be sadness, green can be calm or whatever. And so then as a kid plays a card, if there's a card with a word on it, then you can have them identify a situation that happened this week that made you feel that way. And if there's a wild card, then you get to make up a question, or they get to make up a question for you. And that's really the difference. Bonding with a kid over coloring, right, or drawing, or doing sand tray, right? Or just things that are not necessarily. Children inherently play. That's who we are inherently, which is why so many kids get in trouble in school, because they like to play and not necessarily sit for 20 minutes or whatever. And so it's really just pulling on those things with the kids. And so it is really all about these children, and they lead the sessions, which is also something that's very empowering for them a lot of times, right? So it's child-centered. So I sit back and they guide me through their healing, right? And a lot of times they will just go wherever they need to go, do whatever they need to do, pick out whatever toy they need to pick out in order to kind of have their process, start their process, right, toward healing. I work a lot in trauma. So we, so that's trauma we like to get them healed to where they can go, right? So a mom will bring it, or a dad will bring a kid in for therapy, and like, I need you to fix them. And so what I try to tell them is, we don't fix kids, right? We don't fix children. But what play therapy says is, a child will take you as far as they can go. And then you can discharge them, and they can go on and they can use the skills that they've learned, and they can always come back. And, as they progress, like as they develop, right? As things get more like the 6-year-old brain is very different than the 16-year-old brain, right? Or the 6-year-old brain is very different than the 11-year-old brain. And so at 6, a kid may go as far as they can go, and it doesn't feel like they've gone very far at all. And then they come back at 8, and then they can go a little bit further with the same situation. So it's just, it's just kind of, it's really about listening and empowering these babies. And so, and I call them babies because I'm older, and they're all babies to me. So it's like, but it's so hard because they are not empowered in most of their environments, right? They've got a parent telling them what to do. They send them to school. They've got a whole staff of folks telling them what to do. And so, it's just kind of helping them know that they've got a little bit of power, and they can. So it's a really cool thing. I love play therapy, and I fell into that also. So that was just kind of a whole different thing, because I didn't even know there was such an animal as play therapy until probably about 2009, 2010.
Okay,
so
really
kind of cool.
Let me just say this. Yes, you did mention there is play therapy for adults, and yes. Hey, look, I would have loved for you to be the person to come get my child out of class, because it was going to be play therapy. Like, you know what? I'm going with them. I'm going to be with them, so I'm not going to be here stuck in a class and where it's all dull or whatever. I'm going to play therapy with my,
I'm going over here.
Yeah, right. I'm going to be over here. But
yeah, I actually work a lot with the school system. Right now I work with a Head Start center, a couple of Head Start centers here in Maryland, and also I work with we have Judy centers which are like early learning centers, and so we do some social skills groups and kind of working with the kiddos on how to interact with each other. It's been really interesting with COVID, right? Because they all wear masks, right? They're supposed to stay 6 feet. And like, how do you teach a 4-year-old how to like keep their mask on? But it's really fun because they will get it. Like, you have to tell them 1,000 times, but you have to tell them 1,000 times anyway, because they're littles. Like, that's just what they do. Like, they can't remember. That mask is not a natural thing for them, right? And so integrating some play therapy even through COVID, right? When we literally had to go virtual, we learned how to do play therapy virtually. Like, I've created a whole virtual playroom. So I give kids control of my computer through Zoom and let them go in, and they open up different doors and can choose different activities. So you really have to, and I got that from a teacher online. She created this calming corner in her through slides, Google Slides or something. And I was like, okay, I want to do that. And I was like, oh, I can't do that. So it is fun. It's being creative and letting them just be. Sometimes, we put so much pressure on our kids to just do, things, right? And so when they come into a play therapy session, it is, well, what are we doing today? I don't know. What would you like to do? It's amazing how long it will take a kid to not seek out my approval or my guidance in the play therapy room, because I'm there. I'm very present. I'm, tracking them along. But a lot of times, can I play with this? So the rules of the play therapy room are you can play with whatever in the room that you want. And I will tell you if there's something that's off limits or not safe, right? We'll be safe. There's rules, regulations, like there's no hitting Miss Mimi, right? You can't tie me up, those kinds of things. But I have guns and knives and all the things that make parents uncomfortable. Because our kids, if I'm working in trauma and I'm working in a Title I school and in a not so great neighborhood where there's lots of trauma and lots of violence and lots of gangs and lots of stuff, they've seen guns, right? So guns are in the playroom, and then trying to bring them into the schools is a whole different story. But
okay, Ms. Mimi, let's speak on some things now. Sure. And I know we talked about this before we started recording, but trauma and desensitized nature in this day and age, it doesn't take much. You don't have to turn on the television anymore. Kids are home. Kids are constantly on social media. Parents are constantly on social media. Grandparents are constantly on social media. Social media has become the entertainment gateway now, more so than television itself. You can stream television shows, any and everything you want from your phone. All right. So there's a lot going on in this country, even my shirt says, still can't breathe, land of the free, that's so many messages in itself, especially as a Black man, but let's talk about it from a child's perspective. We've had mass shootings, down in Texas, we've had shootings in Florida and everywhere, all over. You could just right. I mean, man, you name it. All right. But with all that, and the violence that people are just exposed to on a daily, on TV and social media, how can parents still make their children aware of these situations that go on in their daily lives, even though they're getting all this stuff pumped into them, still be aware?
We are. It's interesting to me. So I live in probably, I think, one of the most anxious places that I know of, right? And our anxiety comes from a requirement to succeed, whether it's in sports or academics or whatever, right? So we've got that level of anxiety. I used to say to my clinicians, I believe that babies are coming here anxious, right? I just feel like there's a lot of anxiety that goes on with that. And but as it relates to trauma, right? And helping our littles, right? So I feel like you can't shield them from it, right? You cannot. It would be really great if we could put them in these little bubbles and protect them. But as you so eloquently stated, everybody has a phone. Everybody's phone has social media. As soon as something happens, it is all over this thing right here. It's just a whole thing, right? And then everybody starts talking about it, and then everybody starts calling everybody, and then everybody starts saying something, and it's like ding, ding, ding. It's a lot. So the school systems have shelter-in-place drills, and they start those very early, right? So we are training our children to be prepared for whatever comes or happens, right? So we create all of this anxiety, and then we wonder why they can't be still. It's like I'm so dysregulated right now. Like I'm walking into the building, and it's interesting for me because, right, so I'm gonna like talk a little bit because trauma is my thing. It's unfortunate. I'm like, I love trauma, and I know people are like, that's weird, but I do because I feel like we're in such a traumatic time. Like I am 55 years old, and I'll say it, I don't really care because I'm 55 years old, and I have never felt so unsafe, just in the world, right? And just for whatever reason, there's a grocery store down the street. Like I literally am like watching my back. Like we have kids that are hyper vigilant and hyper aware. And so it's really just providing some semblance of security, stability, consistency. Those are the things that children really thrive in. And so even in such traumatic times when it is so scary out here, to be consistent with the same message, right? To provide the same structures and stability, to turn the stupid television off, to mute your phone or make it go whatever, silent or whatever it's called, like just like to disconnect for certain periods of time, especially when your kids are around, because you're not necessarily going to have a conversation with a 4-year-old, 5-year-old about Uvalde, right, in Texas, the mass shooting in the elementary school, right? But they're going to hear it because it's on the news, or or you're watching a video that's talking about, right? And so then, and you're like, oh, well, they don't know because they were playing their game, but it's all in their ear, like it's all, and so it's just being mindful of what is really going on. I throw people off. I'm pretty more educated than I'd like to be sometimes because I feel like I've got so much student debt, but whatever, that's a whole other discussion, right? But here's the thing. I don't watch the news. I do not watch it. I have not watched the news in probably 4 or 5 years. And it blows my father, who's 93 years old, it blows his mind. He's like, did you see I did not. I did not see it. And I say to him, I said, I can't watch the news because I know whatever's going to happen, y'all are going to let me know. Like everybody's going to talk about it. I take regular breaks from social media. Because just to maintain my mental health, right? And so those are things that are important for our kids as well. Spending time together. And it sounds so cliche, and I don't even like that I'm getting ready to say it, but it's really the little things. It really is just the little things, showing them that, there's a lot of stuff going on in this country. And I could just talk about neighborhoods that like just, stuff that's going on in the neighborhoods. And our kids have become so desensitized to guns and to violence and to death and to murder and to drugs and to, right, and domestic violence, which is a whole other, right? It's just giving them a place to be a kid. And it doesn't take a lot. Kids are very easily entertained. There's things people talk about, I spent all these thousands of dollars on these Christmas presents, and there's an Amazon box, and this baby has made a whole fort out of the box with the blanket and my expensive pillows and all that. And that's the thing. Kids don't require a lot of stuff to feel safe, right? It's you keeping them safe. It's you reminding them that, I've got you, like I'm going to be here and we're going to get through this. And there are things that are happening in this world, and there are always going to be things that are happening, but to offer just some consistency and structures, it's key. And then if there's some stuff that they've experienced or seen or experienced, it's really reaching out to some professionals to get the help that they need, right? And kind of destigmatizing them, asking for help.
So it's so funny that you say that right there. I'm working with an organization. I don't want to say the name. I'll tell you that off camera.
Okay.
But I'm working with an organization now. And this is my second summer working the summer camp with them. And we bring in a group of, kids from a project not far from the city, you know, but it's like far off in like the south parts of the, you know, city.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
We don't want to have nothing to do with y'all, but
Right.
you know, we bring them in, and I can just tell you, you know, just the stigma put on them already from the place that they're from, you know, I believe it's really unfair, you know, and I'm gonna talk about it in a second about, you know, what's the term I want to use? I want to use this term, professional identity, and you know, why kids, you know, should have a professional identity as well. And we'll talk about all that in a second.
Okay.
But you know, I just want to say it's funny that you say that, because sometimes, you know, we can already put these stigmas on kids already, like, oh, here come these kids, yeah, da da da. We want to deal with this, want to deal with that, and even in these summer camps, I know they're not long or whatever, but I do believe they require some type of counseling as well, especially if you want to get the message across to them that you care and you want to make a difference and this, that, and the other, and just have them be an outlet more so than them just coming in and playing basketball, or, hey, you know what, go ahead and build this, you know, plane right here so we can teach you about, you know, STEM, so, you know, we can get these grants or whatever. But
right.
What about the, you know, mental aspect of things? You know, why can't we, you know, talk to them and soothe that, you know, aspect out as we're getting to like know these, you know, kids or what have you?
Right.
Because every year they change. They come back different. I mean, you said it yourself. You worked in the school system. You know how it is. You come back the next year, the same kid, bigger. Man, the brainwave at 6 is not the brainwave at 16. I'm thinking a little bit different now. You know,
Right.
all these other factors that, you know, come in, you know, the surroundings, where I live, what I eat, what I see, you know, people living with me, people not living with me, people that were here or not here, you know, due to jail or death or what have you, you know, like all these things, you know, really come into play. So, okay, all right, okay.
Yeah.
So, my question to you, Miss Mimi Ryan, my next question to you. We talk about leaving empty, all right? And I've heard you mention this earlier when you were talking about your life's work, but I'm going to present this question to you. Like,
Okay.
leaving empty. When I say leaving empty, when it's all said and done, man, look, I have done everything I needed to do. I have no regrets. You know, man, I put it all on the line. That's what it is. I'm out. You know? Right. You know, when you leave here, what do you want the legacy of me, Ryan?
Wow. So, that's really fun. So here's the thing. I used to say, right, that I just wanted to change one life. Right. I'd like for one person's life to have been changed because of me being here. Right. For whatever reason they encountered me. Right. Hopefully in therapy, because that's my jam. And I've accomplished that. And not to, you know, I've gotten feedback from clients that I've worked with, parents that I've worked with, that, you know, things are just better and different for our kids. And so, my daughter is 18 years old. I have twin daughters that are 18, because God is comical. And they are going off to college this year. And one has decided to do forensic sciences through biochemistry. And the other has decided to do forensic sciences through psychology. And so my legacy is that, right? My girls, you know, to pick up and continue the work that I so passionately do. And I don't know how to do things without like just doing them all the way. It's just my thing. I don't know how to half do them. I do them all the way. And so, knowing that I have lived my life, that I have followed my dream, right, and pursued my passion, and did it with so much fun, right, and did not burn out. So, that's the legacy for me. Really, it's and raising a generation of folks who are going to continue to do this work. And I have interns. I work with interns because I need people to do this work, right? And I need people who look like me to do this work, just to be real honest, because our kids need to see folks who look like them. It's just so important for me. Like you said to me when we off air, you're working on your counseling degree, and like Black men in the social work, counseling field, whatever, are unicorns. And I have been blessed to work with 3 of the best in the world to me. Because they're mine, right? So it's just, I don't know. I want to do this work until I don't want to do it anymore. And then I want to get my little house in St. Kitts on the beach and live and not wear shoes or, just have shorts on every day. Like, that's my dream. Like, that's my thing, right? It's like to just, but I want to go out on the up, right? Like, I'm kind of like Jordan, right? Like Michael Jordan did. Sorry. Oh yes. And then you go and Chicago. So right. So he ended his career on a high. Like, he didn't like wait until it was like so much that, so that's kind of the thing for me. I want to continue to do the work until I can't do it. And then I want to teach folks to do it so that we can continue to make a difference in these kids' lives and these families' lives.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Look at
Yeah.
Look at man. No, man. Look, y'all. I mean, look. I'm just letting y'all know. This is Word with Ty Brownlow, not Dr. Oz, not Dr. Phil. Man, you getting the real conversation right here. Okay. If they do their thing, I do my thing. Look. All right. Informative content. That's what I pride myself on. And I feel that was a very, very like informative answer. You know what I'm saying? Like, you are really talking about, hey, man, my twin daughters, they're doing the work, man. They're going to continue in pretty much what it is that I'm doing. And that says a lot when your work can continue from the people that you constantly been in contact with. They know who you are. They know what your message is. So, yeah. Hey, all right. Hats off. Now, I want to talk about being culturally competent, and especially in therapy. And I mean, you just said it. People that look like us. The unicorns in training, such as myself. But why is cultural competence big in therapy? Especially when it comes to dealing with, I'm just gonna say it, Black and brown kids in the inner city,
Absolutely.
Schools, things of that nature.
So we need a new phrase. I don't like cultural competency, but that's a whole other. I think that it's so important for anyone who does this work. Before you can be culturally anything, like, you have to want to do the work, right? And there's a lot who, I don't know, don't do a good job. I don't know why, but whatever. And I don't mean to slam. It's part of it, right? But here's the thing. It's being aware of where you are at all times. So if you are in the inner city of Chicago or Baltimore or DC, right? Being aware of what is in that area, as opposed to having an expectation that is not fair or realistic. And there's I need to find it so I can like read it to you. But anyway, there's a poem or thing out there that it's because I ain't got a pencil. And it's a poem about like a kid, just having to like get dressed in the dark because there's no electricity, getting to school, late and dirty, but because there's no washing machine. Like it's just, it's being aware of there's a lot that these kids go through in order to get to where they are, right? And meeting them there as opposed to trying your agenda on them, right? It's so key and critical. And I say especially in the schools, because I work a lot in the school system, and I know we have tests and all the stuff we have to take. I got all that, the requirements of the regs or whatever. But at the end of the day, if Johnny hasn't had anything to eat since lunch on Friday, and he's coming to school for breakfast on Monday, right? And he's in school, then it's recognizing that that's Johnny's world. And whether he is black or brown or white or green, that's Johnny's thing, right? And so it's really just being, I think, environmentally conscious as opposed to culturally, because you just got to know where you are. Like if you're in Beverly Hills, you don't have those issues, but if you're not, then you might. And so it's just being knowing, and also knowing, so culturally, like what, historically, how people of color have gotten to where we are in this country, and kind of knowing like why spankings are like or whippings or whatever you want to call them are like a common thing, and they're not necessarily just taboo, right? It's my mama whipped me last night, and you're like, oh God, I got to call CPS. Well, no, really? Okay, let's figure out what you really got to do. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's really being aware. Just it's so critical. I have a thing, a training that I developed about Black women and trauma and parenting. Mm. It's a real thing. Anyway.
Well, no, hey, I mean, hey, some of the first adversities that we really endure in life don't come from the outside. They normally happen within the home.
Absolutely.
I say it sometimes and people just look at me, weird or what have you. But, in the end, we all adopt the dominant mindset. In some shape, form, or fashion, we all adopt the dominant mindset. No matter how radical you think you are at times or what have you, in the end, the dominant mindset in some shape, form, or fashion is adopted in some part of your daily doings or whatever. So,
absolutely.
Moving on, but
yeah.
If people, well, no, seriously, like if people want to get in contact with you, if they want your services, if they want to learn more about you,
right,
via social media, via the internet, how can they do so?
So I have a Facebook page. It's Yvette Mimi Ryans, real simple. YVETTEMIMI Ryans. I'm all over social media. Lighthouse also has a Facebook page. I think we have Instagram too, but I'm so not good. My 18-year-olds maintain my social media presence because I don't have time. And I'm on the internet. So we have a website, www.lighthouseplaytherapy.com. You can always reach out that way. And you can email me. The emails come directly to my phone. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, there it is. There it is. Okay. All right. Well, Miss Mimi Ryans, we've reached the last question, the question that my show is known for. So I'd love to present it to you. What is the one word that best describes you and why?
I'm so glad I'm so glad I learned that this was going to be the last question. So if there is one word that I think describes me, it is authentic. I am who I am, whether I am with the brothers on the corner with the 40s in the brown paper bag, or with the Queen of England with this fine china and tea and crumpets. I am just me. I don't know how to be anything else or do anything else. And so people who know me know me. They don't there's not a lot of sides to me. I think authentic is my word.
Okay, there it is. Well, look, I like a word you used earlier, beacon.
Yeah.
And just like the work that you're doing, whom you're doing the work with, adults as well as children, of course.
Yeah.
And like, hey, just keep doing the work. Play therapy, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, play therapy.
Seriously, I'm trying to tell y'all, it's just not for kids. All right, look,
It's not.
adults. I mean, look, man, it's all kind of stuff in there, man. Y'all could be doing. Look, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I just wanted to be in a room playing with stuff. Like, I didn't really care about the question that was going on. I just wanted to be in a room playing. So if you're anything like me, big kid at heart, hey, play therapy, man, please get you some play therapy, or if you, parent out there have a child that can benefit from play therapy.
Reach out.
There it is. Okay.
Yep.
All right. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Word with Ty Brownlow. I've been your host, Ty Brownlow. Remember, no one is worthless. No story is worthless. You can follow me all social media platforms, Word with Ty Brownlow, or you can just go to my website, tybrownlow.com. Get this wonderful conversation plus other great conversations as well. Mimi Ryans. We out, y'all. Peace.